Might be back now. Nope. So frustrating. Let me know when you're back on. Come on. I'm gonna burn Bright House Networks down to the ground. Bright House Spectrum, always good. There we go. We're back online. Super annoying here, guys. I really apologize. I was on the phone with Bright House Networks last week. They came out, said they'd send someone to fix it. Couldn't tell me when, and obviously the problem's not fixed. Classic. Very frustrating. We just lost half the viewers there, but it is what it is. Whatever. I guess it is. It'll be what it'll be. But we'll go back into what we were talking about there. We were talking about amberjack. We were talking about trolling on the way out on a 39-hour fishing trip. So the best bait to use near shore for the first part of that trolling on one of those big 80 wide 2 speeds or 9-aught reels would be a trolling planer, like a number 1, number 2 planer. Typically, I like a number 1 planer with about 15 to 18 feet of monofilament line out to your 6-inch king spoon, which works really, really well for those mackerel and bonita near shore. And then once you get out there into that blue water, you can switch from that planer and spoon over to some of the skirted plugs. We have a lot of Fathom offshore skirted plugs coming into the shop that work very, very well. Same lures that they use on the pinwheel at Wicked Tuna. Tyler, I met him at iCast and he showed me around the Fathom offshore booth. And we actually picked up some of the same lures they use on Wicked Tuna. So got some Fathom offshore skirted plugs. We have some Rapala X-Wrap Magnums, the Magnum 30, the Magnum 40. Those Rapala X-Wraps work really well while trolling. So the first 30 to 40 miles, that planer and spoon is a great option. And then once you're out there into that blue water is when we would pick up and start using some of those skirted plugs or those Rapala X-Wraps. We do have outriggers on the boat, so on the outriggers you would use some of those bubble jets that are meant to come out of the water, catch air, and then shoot bubble back. And then we also have some of the weighted head ones. Those weighted head ones you can keep a little closer to the boat. And then we have some of the round head light-bodied ones, which you would send further back on the flat lines. The trick to trolling on the way out, though, is, again, it's a bottom fishing trip, so you're kind of left to your own devices there, but we get you set up properly, and typically we'll have John Martin, or Big John Martin, our fishing coach, on the back deck helping out during the trolling, and the idea is to set up a spread. So it's very important that your spread is nice and spaced out so you can target these fish efficiently while not losing plugs or not cutting anybody off. So how you set up the spread properly is making sure that you have very, very staggered plugs. Like, for example, if I've got one at 50 feet on the starboard corner, the port corner might be like 60 to 70 feet. So those are staggered. And then one in the middle here by the 50 footer, I might have it out 100 feet. And then the one next to it, I might have it like 45, 40 feet. And you stagger it out. The idea is you want to make a bait ball behind the boat. So as the boat's moving, that bait ball is following it. And the sound of the motor is what gets that fish's attention to look up at the boat. And then as the boat passes, all the prop wash goes by, and then all of a sudden they see this school of bait following that boat. And those big wahoo, tuna, mahi-mahi, billfish, all the many species that we catch, kingfish, mackerel, bonita, will come up there into that spread. So that's why when you hear about bill fishing, they call it raising the fish into the spread. So the idea is to stagger those lures. So if you see a guy dropping out a lure, you don't want to drop out a lure at the same time as him. You want to give him a second, get that lure established, and then drop your lure just in front of him or behind him about 10 to 15 feet. That way your lures are staggered. They're not going to get tangled up. If one of you catches a fish, the other one can get out of the way while he reels his in. So it's all about teamwork. Anything on a party boat's about teamwork. But to answer your question about what you would troll at the end of August, I would start out with that planer and spoon for the first 30, 40, 50 miles. And then once out there into that blue water, I would go with one of those skirted plugs or the Rapala X-Wrap Magnums. So hopefully that answered your question there. For those of you watching, if it's not working well for you, hit refresh on your video. It seems to be fixing the problem for everybody. Again, I apologize. Very frustrating. I've been working really hard on this. Now I've got a great computer to do these videos, but unfortunately, Bright House Network's Spectrum internet sucks. I'm gonna have to have a talk, unfortunately, and hopefully we'll get this figured out for next week. So I really apologize, guys, but this is a learning process for me. Obviously, as you can tell, I'm no expert in this whole thing, but we are going to get it worked out. Sounds like everything for everybody is working. Audio and video is good. A lot of people are saying if your audio and video is not good, refresh your pages, and it seems to be working for everybody. It looks like the Facebook is going to be your best bet right now. It looks like YouTube has not connected again. So a little frustrating there, guys. I apologize, but we will get this back up and running more smoothly next week. For those of you tuned in now, we're going to get back to the questions. Make sure you comment with your questions, and I will get to them as I see them. So I apologize. All right, let's see what other questions we have here. All right, so Ron Moore said he's looking forward to the new rods. The new rods are going to be Bold Bay Hubbard's Marina custom rods. We've got some really exciting stuff coming out from Bold Bay Rods. Myself and Dustin Phillips, the owner at Bold Bay Rods, we've come up with 5 new setups. They're custom Hubbard's Marina Bold Bay sticks. We've got a snapper red grouper stick. We've got a big gag grouper amberjack stick. We've got a jigging rod. We've got a hogfish killer, and then we've got a huge mangrove snapper bad to the bone flatline and rod too. So we've got 2 spinning rods, 2 conventional rods, and a jigging rod. All of them are going to be super light, super strong, really unique aluminum rod and reel seats that are going to be super strong. And then they're also going to have very sensitive tips while being very light and strong as well. So we're really looking forward to some really nice stuff coming into the Hubbard's Marina shop here soon. The snapper rod is going to be really awesome. The conventional rods have a very unique foregrip that is going to be really good for ambidextrous fishermen and for fighting those huge fish and be very comfortable. The butt is a little bit longer butt, so you can hold that reel a little bit further forward, get some more torque on some of those bigger fish. And if you're a taller guy like myself, it works really well to get that reel out a little bit further away from your body as well. So everything about these new reels is going to be, or new rods is going to be really cool. So we're looking forward to them as well. Thanks for the comment. Now let's see here. Went to wow. Casey Skinner said, went to wow years ago. I'll never go back. Casey, hopefully you're not talking about Hubbard's Marina. If you are, shoot me a message. I'd love to chat with you about why you won't come back, because we'd be happy to do what we can to make that right, because we work really hard to make sure you guys are happy when you come out and visit us. We guarantee an excellent client experience with superior guest service, and I try to personally go above and beyond to make sure that happens. I'm always there before and after those long-range trips to make sure of it, and for the all-day trips, I'm always there before you leave, and I'm always a phone call away if you don't have a good time. So Hopefully that wasn't directed at Hubbard's Marina, Casey, but if it was, I'd love to chat with you and try to do what we can to show you a more average experience. Chris Droolard said, what is the smallest spinning reel for amberjacks, tarpon, and cobia? Well, for tarpon, I would probably use anywhere from a 6,000 to an 8,000. Probably closer to 8,000 would be better, Chris. The quantum cabos are really nice spinning reels if you're going to go after tarpon, because they have that dual stack drag. So quantum cabos are really cool spinning reel. The Daiwa Saltiga or Daiwa Saltist spinning reels are really nice as well. I really want to get a nice big Daiwa Saltist or Daiwa Saltiga spinning reel for that new Bull Bay rod, Bull Bay Hubbard's Marina rods we have coming out. It's going to be bad to the bone. Cobia, you could probably get away with like a 6,000 series spinning reel, Chris, for a cobia. For amberjack, I would not ever use a spinning reel personally, just because the spinning reels really suck for amberjack. Just because when you got a big amberjack, that thing's digging to bottom, and the only way to stop that fish is putting heat on it. And I love conventional reels when I'm bottom fishing for big fish like amberjack, just because you have the ability to put the foam of that conventional rod on the rail, drop to a knee, and use your body's weight and the bend of that rod to tire that fish out and stop him from digging. And you can put your palm over that conventional reel and just put the palm of your hand right into that reel and slow that fish down. And if you're using heavy enough tackle, you could just stop him. And it's really cool to have that kind of power. When you have a spinning reel, you're holding it, you're trying to crank, you can't put the rod on the rail, so you're holding it with one arm, your bicep. It's terrible leverage. Whereas with the conventional rod, your elbow is going into your gut, and you have that leverage of your body to rock that fish up off the bottom. And a conventional rod is 10 to 1 much better for bottom fishing for big fish. So amberjack on a spinning reel, throw it away, in my opinion. But everybody's got their own opinion, and some people really like fishing for amberjack with light tackle. And you can book a private charter on the Flying Hub 1, Flying Hub 2, one of those go fast boats, and fish with for amberjack with the lightest spinning reels you want. But on the party boat, it just doesn't work. It won't work. Flying Hub 2, the extreme trips, it won't work. It doesn't work. It won't be allowed. Just when you have multiple lines in the water, if you have someone using a spinning reel for an amberjack, even if he catches a barely legal amberjack, it's going to do a circle around the boat, tangle everybody up. You're going to lose the fish. You're probably going to make someone else lose the fish. And it's just a bad time for everybody. So everybody's got to use the appropriate tackle. Make sure we're only as strong as our weakest link. And if everybody's using the appropriate large tackle, you're going to maximize the amount of fish that we get up off the bottom as quick as possible. And we're going to catch more fish and have more fun doing it. John Buniak said, what Yvette reel would you use for trolling on the 39-hour trip? Preferably, I like the Yvette Raptor. I'm not super familiar with the Yvette reel, so I know the Yvette Raptor is large enough to troll. It's the same size as a big 80 wide would be. Not super familiar with Yvettes, to be honest with you, John, so I'm not the best person to ask. But I know places like Bass Pro Shops, Dogfish Tackle, Tampa Fishing Outfitters, St. Pete Fishing Outfitters, they have a ton. Southeastern Tackle has one of the largest selection of Yvette and accurate reels that I know of. And they'd be a good place to go as well. See what other questions we have here. Chad Foster said 12-hour extreme trips doing any good. Well, Chad, let me show you what the 12-hour extreme. Well, this wasn't a 12-hour extreme, but it was the Flying Hub 2 on a private charter to that similar area, and they got one. It wasn't very large, but it was a really nice fish, and that to me is a trophy catch no matter the size. Huge huge day for sure. I mean, it doesn't matter what size sailfish you catch in the Central West Florida. Catching a sailfish is pretty awesome. I don't know if anybody saw it, but we posted the photos of this catch and release sailfish, and someone commented that it was a really small fish. So always some very pleasurable people out there. Very sad when someone catches a fish of a lifetime, and people can be negative about it. But hey, it happens. Not everybody's as happy as I am. For those of you who know me, you know that was sarcastic. But Chad, to answer your question, yeah, we're doing well on the 12-hour extreme trips, especially now that amberjack are open. We're going to be hunting those amberjack around. We're going to be going after those gag grouper out in deeper water. Red grouper, we got tons of triggerfish to catch as well. So the extreme trips are a great option. Today we just had an extreme trip. Let me see if we can call Captain Anthony and see if Anthony can give us a call. And he's probably asleep, though, being as though he ran a trip from 5 a.m. to 5 p.m. If I was him, I'd be asleep. But if he's awake, we will get a live report live on the video. All right. Well, I just sent a text to Captain Anthony. If he's awake, we'll have him call in and give you a live report from today, Chad. How about that? Terry Eakins said price on a 12-hour trip. Well, we have a 12-hour extreme trip, Terry, that fishes 70 to 100 miles from shore, the same area as the 39-hour trip fishes, and that trip is $300. It gives you 7 to 8 hours fishing time, 70 to 100 miles from shore and about 120 to 250 foot of water. It's a long-range specialty trip. Fishes, again, the same area as a 39-hour. Super cool trip on a super unique, super fast boat. And then also, Terry, we have our 12-hour night mangrove snapper trip aboard the party boat. That one's only $129. That gives you about 7 to 8 hours fishing time, about 15 to 25 miles from shore, hunting for mangrove snapper, yellowtail snapper, vermilion snapper, all that kind of stuff. Really, really cool trip to be able to fish all night long for $129. But you don't get out there super deep. Kyle Gentry said, are those Bull Bay rods going to match up with the Dio Saltis color schemes? Well, Kyle, you can customize these new Bull Bay Hubbard's Marina rods we have. They're going to match up with the Hubbard's Marina logo schemes. So we're going to have a green and gold scheme, and then we're going to have a red and gold scheme. Predominantly black rods are going to be blacked out with red and gold and green and gold accents. And the jigging rod is going to be a little bit of red, green, and gold mixed together. So the jigging rod's going to look a little bit more, some more time put into it wrap-wise, because that one's going to be a little bit more pricey. But the conventional rods, the spinning rods, the lighter one will be, I think it was red and gold, and the heavier one will be green and gold. Again, predominantly black. But the cool part about these rods is when we get them, if you like one, we can actually custom order it with it for you. We can put your name in it. We can put whatever color scheme you want. Basically, Bull Bay Rods and myself, we've put together these rods that work really well for this certain type of fishing we do at Hubbard's Marina. Snapper fishing, grouper fishing, amberjack fishing, hog fishing, flatline, knocker rigging for snapper. And if you do that type of fishing, you can order these rods custom with your name on it, your color scheme on it, and just keep the same arrangement that we came up with custom. So it's going to be pretty cool, Kyle. So yes, you can order whatever color scheme you want. You can put your name on it and everything. Jorge Moncada said, do you run a full-day grouper trip in the fall? Yes. 12-hour extreme trips is hands down the best grouper trip if you just have only a day to go. always recommend our long range specialty trips, especially for the grouper. So the 12-hour extreme is going to be a really great option for you, Jorge. Or if you have the time, do a 39-hour trip where you get a 2-day bag limit, or a 44-hour trip on a full moon. Or the best trip is the 63-hour trip we have coming up August 16th. My father, Captain Mark Hubbard, Brian Holland, we have 2 first captains going on this trip August 16th. It's got a super light load on it, and they're going deep hunting for big grouper. It's going to be the Gulf Grouper Slam. They're going to stop anywhere from 200 to about 400 foot of water and get some really fat red grouper and lots of big gag grouper. And then they're going to move out there to 500 foot, try to hunt for some tile fish, and then move out there even a little bit deeper to 600 to 900 foot of water and hunt for some big yellow edge in the little shallower waters, and then move out deeper for some snowies, Kitty Mitchells, and maybe even a big Warsaw or 2. So we're really looking forward to this August 16th 63-hour deep drop trip. It's got a super light load on it, and you're going to have a great opportunity to troll up some pelagics. You're going to have a really awesome opportunity to catch some monster deep water grouper as well. So to answer your question, if you're looking for a day trip for grouper, hands down 12-hour extreme. If you don't want to try to spend that money, you have a chance for some nice grouper on our 10-hour all day, but it's not a trip that's going to get you into blue water for monster grouper. But you do have a shot at some nice grouper on our 10-hour all day on the party boat trip. Or you can always do a private charter trip as well. So yes, we have tons of options for grouper in the fall. Day trip, overnight trip, or long range trip, private charters or party boats, whatever you want. Let's see what other questions. Christopher Valerie asked, what is better, Dylan, a Daiwa Saltist or a Daiwa Saltiga? Well, the Daiwa Saltiga is going to be a higher quality reel. The Daiwa, if we're talking conventional reels, the Daiwa Saltiga, the conventional reel, the difference between a Saltist and a Saltiga. The Saltiga, the reel is a free-floating spool, so it's super smooth, super sleek. The Daiwa Saltiga gears are forged aluminum, so they're super, or not forged aluminum, they're forged something or other, and they're super strong. The frame is all one piece of metal, so the frame is super rigid, also lending it to a more smooth feel, more powerful feel. And the Daiwa Saltiga has much more drag compared to the Saltist. So the Saltist is going to be a little bit cheaper. The Saltiga is going to be a little bit more, but the Saltiga is going to be a lot higher quality, a lot more drag, a lot more power, and a lot more durability. I love the Saltist series. They work fine. They work well. But the Saltiga series is definitely where it's at. I started using a Daiwa Saltiga LD50 2-speed for some of the big red grouper, all my snapper species, and even a few smaller gags, and it is just a dream come true. Super smooth, super strong reel. I love the Daiwa Saltiga LD50, and we have a bunch of them coming into the shop. I know a few of you guys have been waiting on them, and Daiwa keeps promising me they're coming, and I have faith that they should show up any day now, hopefully, because I'm ready for another one too. So, but we did order 15 Saltiga 15 Saltist reels and 18 Saltiga reels, so we got a bunch of Daiwa reels coming in from iCast, and hopefully we're going to pick up even more this week. Brian Dunnigan said, can you talk more about getting a good trolling spread on the 39-hour? Sometimes the trolling is great, but sometimes there are a lot of tangles when multiple people are trolling. Brian, the best way to get a good spread on the 39-hour trip is having people work together, and that's a problem. On a party boat, again, you're only as strong as your weakest link, so you have to work together. If you don't know how to troll, don't just go back there and set out a lure. Look around. The guy sitting next to you that knows what he's doing, ask him. he'll help you. And you got to work together. That way you can stagger those lines properly so you're not creating tangles, people aren't losing jigs, and we're not creating a problem before we even start fishing. It is a bottom fishing trip. Those mates have to sleep and get some rest. So the mates aren't going to be down there trolling the whole way out there. They won't be able to fish all night with you guys. So the mates are bottom fishing mates. So they're there to help you with bottom fishing. So the trolling, you guys got to work together and cooperate. And the only way to do that is by staggering that spread. So what I would do when I'm setting out my lures is I set out the 2 outriggers first. Then I set out the 2 stern corner rods, staggered each, even the outriggers. I'll put one at 50 feet, one at 70 feet. Then the 2 corners, I'll put one at 60 feet, one at 40 feet. And then I'll work my way down. So I'll start on the starboard side and I'll put one rod out. I'll start in the middle, put another rod out. Then I'll walk over to the port, put another rod out. So that at that point, you'd have the outriggers out, the 2 corners, and 3 in the middle. So that would give you a really nice spread. As long as you're staggering each one of these lines, you're not going to get tangled. You're creating that bait school appearance, and you're going to catch a lot of fish successfully. And then once someone catches a fish, the other rod's got to get out of the way. If you catch a fish on the short rod, as long as he's not peel and drag, no one has to reel up. But if you catch a fish on the long rod and you've got 2 lines next to it, they might have to retrieve their lines for that guy to get his fish in. And if we have more than 6, 7, 8 people trolling, you might have to do a little bit of a rotation. So again, you got to work together in order to be successful. And that's true of any offshore fishing trip, whether it's your buddy's boat, a charter boat, party boat, you got to work together. So hopefully that answered your question there, Brian. Let's see if we have any other questions from YouTube. I don't think the YouTube chat ever refreshed. Cobia Spinelli said, spade fish for amberjacks, is that a good bait? Yes, definitely. One of the best baits to use for amberjack is a spade fish, or what some people call the angel fish. It's got the same color patterns as a sheep's head, and it's a very, very, very good eating or a very good bait for the amberjack. However, they are a little bit difficult to try to catch because they are so very difficult to keep alive, and they're larger fish, so it's hard to keep them in a live well, but they do work very well for amberjack bait. One of my favorite baits for amberjacks is one of those big spade fish. But once you catch them, they're tough to catch because they fight so hard. And then once you get them, you got to keep them alive in that live well, but they work very well. Michael Kane said, when are the snapper videos coming on Salt Strong? Love the grouper one of the best courses so far. Thanks, Michael. I appreciate that. For those of you who don't know, Salt Strong is a local company. 2 gentlemen who grew up here, quit their jobs, sold their business, and got into the business of teaching people how to fish. Super nice guys, Joe and Luke Simmons from Salt Strong. I love Salt Strong, always have, and they invited me to do a course with them. So we filmed a grouper mastery course, like a bottom fishing mastery course, and got that one out there. So you can get that grouper mastery course today. And basically what it is it's me on the boat with the rod in my hand showing you my tips and tricks. And then I also show you how to read a bottom machine, how to anchor the boat on a spot, how to hit a spot, how to find a spot, what spots look like, how to find what spot for each grouper, what time of year, behavior habits, jigging, everything. And that's on the water, on the boat. It's pretty cool. But Michael Kane, to answer your question, we are supposed to start on the snapper fishing mastery course sometime in September, October time frame. Just kind of waiting on the guys from Salt Strong to reach out and get that scheduled. So I'm looking forward to it. So I would imagine, Michael, it would be out online for you to pick up by the end of the year, if not early next year. Scott Ledford said, best fishing charter, love Captain Joe. Can't ask for a better captain. Ready for another 12-hour extreme. Thanks, Scott. I appreciate you guys on YouTube tuning in. No Clue Fishing Torres said, wanted to know who will be taken out on the 39-hour trip on the 7th. Today is Sunday, so you're talking about Tuesday the 7th. That's going to be Captain Brian Holland, same captain who ran this recent 39-hour trip, where I showed you all those big fish that we had from that recent trip. So Brian's ready to go do it again. TSG610 on YouTube said, where can I buy the mangrove rod online? Well, you'll be able to buy it right in the Hubbard's Marina shop. We do not ship rods due to the issues that we face in getting a rod from one point to another not broken. But you can buy those rods right in our shop before your trip. So we're really excited for Bull Bay Rods to get those rods to us, but they are still not here yet. So we're waiting for those Bull Bay Hubbard's Marina rods and our new Daiwa reels, and we're gonna put those together to make some really bad to the bone combos. And as soon as we get them, you guys are going to be the first ones to know. We'll definitely make sure that we do some video announcements, and I'm hoping to have some of the guys from Bull Bay Rods come join us here for one of these live videos to talk a little bit about the features of the rods and stuff like that. So we're looking forward to that. Scott Ledford said, are gray triggerfish open? Yes, gray triggerfish opened August 1st with amberjack. We've had gray triggerfish open since March 1st, and then they closed June 1st. Now they've reopened again, Scott. So we've had a lot of gray triggerfish fishing this year, and we're ready for it to start again. Michael Murray said, when do you vertical jig? What size and type of jig? Some people vertical jig all the time, Michael Murray. We have one guy, Robert Henry, and his buddies. They vertical jig all day, every time they come out. They do a Flying Hub 2 long-range private charter for vertical jigging, and all they do is jig, and they tear up some big snapper, big snapper, big grouper. Robert sent me some photos from down south area where he caught big wahoo, big snapper, and big grouper on the vertical jig. So there's tons of fish to catch out there with vertical jigs. And we are actually working on bringing in a bigger line of vertical jigs because Will McClure, our first mate on the 39-hour trip, Garrett Hubbard, my cousin who runs the 39-hour trips occasionally, they both love vertical jigging as well. So we have a lot of success vertical jigging. When do you vertical jig? You can vertical jig anytime you want. My favorite thing to do is drop down first because a lot of times that biggest aggressive fish is ready to chew, and the first bait down will a lot of times get that real aggressive fish. And that vertical jig is very heavy. So walk up to the bow where I normally fish, cast it off the bow, and I'm down there to the bottom like that, and I'm able to jig it once or twice and try to get one of those big aggressive fish. If it doesn't work out, I'll switch back to dead bait and then maybe break out the vertical jig later towards the end of the spot as well. But myself, I don't vertical jig that much because I'm just lazy. And the dead bait, the live bait works really well for me. But some guys really enjoy the rush of vertical jigging, and they do it all throughout the trip. So as far as when to vertical jig, it's kind of your preference. Myself, I like doing it at the very beginning and the very end of a spot. But you have to be careful when you're vertical jigging. If you're on a party boat, for example, you have to do it in certain areas. You can't vertical jig in the middle of the stern on a busy trip. But if you're up towards the bow, out of the way, you can vertical jig with ease. And especially if you're using a smaller jig, you really got to be careful where you're jigging because it's going to get sucked in the current a lot more. you're using a heavier vertical jig that's more straight up and down, it's not as big of a problem. But I like fishing the very tippy bow up in the pulpit, and up there it's never a problem for me to cast that jig out and do some vertical jigging. So I really enjoy them. The slow pitch jigs work really, really well for those scamp grouper, and the bigger, heavier jigs work well for amberjack and other fish as well. Ryan May said, how would you try for a cobia, and which trip would you have the best chance to get one? Time of year, question mark. Cobia are around spring, summer, and into the fall, even in the winter time. We see a lot of them in the spring and fall. What trip would you have the best chance to catch one is kind of a tough one, because we see them in the bay, we see them on the beach, we see them near shore, we see them 100 miles from shore. So we have you have a chance to catch a cobia on almost every trip. But I would say if you want to target cobia, private charter is the way to go, Ryan. But again, we see them anywhere we fish. As deep water as we fish, all the way to the shallowest water we fish, we see cobia. I like to have a rod rig for cobia. A little white bucktail with a long dark green rubber worm on it works really well, mimics those eels that the cobia love eating. And also a tail hooked pinfish on 50-pound fluorocarbon with about a 3 to 5 aught hook works really well to sight cast those cobia, or just gaff them. Captain Garrett Hubbard, my cousin, was running a 44-hour trip, and I was his second captain with some really, really cool clients of ours, and we were out there fishing on a 44-hour full moon. This big cobia followed this big, huge ray that we caught up from the bottom, and it got a little too close, and Garrett stuck it with the gaff, and it was probably about a 50, 60-pound cobia, and it just went nuts. And I tried to stick a gaff in it too, but it just kept bouncing off because the gaff was a little bent and the fish was just thrashing, and after a few seconds it just exploded the gaff that we had in it. We lost the fish, but it's a lot of fun out there. Those cobias are crazy, but I would definitely say having a pitch rod ready, either just a rod with a 50-pound fluorocarbon leader and a circle hook ready to tail hook a pinfish and flip it out, or a rod and reel with that white bucktail and that dark green rubber worm on it to flip out in front of that cobia is a great idea, just to have it ready. And Michael Carr's right, cobia do tend to swim around the wrecks. Flatlined live bait is exactly what I would recommend. Kind of did, except for I said pitch rod, but a flatline works well. Typically on my flatlines, Michael Carr, I'm going to have the stinger rig out there with the wire. That's why I'll have the pitch rod ready for the cobia as well, because most of the time we're pitch baiting those cobia. So let's see here. Melvin Dawson said, are we going to consider increasing the number of 63-hour trips anytime in the near future? We do 4 of those 63-hour trips a year, and those are fairly decent amount. We used to do 6 to 8 of them, but we had to cancel a few due to low interest. So we enjoy sticking to around 4 to 6 of them a year. We have tons of 63-hour. Instead of a 63-hour, you could do a 15 or 18-hour on the go fast boats, and a lot of guys like doing those deep water trips faster. So we don't plan on adding more 63 hours, Melvin, just because the 63-hour works, or the go fast boats work so well to do the 63-hour type fishing. And for those of you who commenting, this is not moonshine, it's water. I wish I could drink moonshine like that, but I can't. A lot of people are questioning or commenting about water being polluted and water quality issues, so we're going to get to that, guys. I'm not ignoring that questions. I definitely want to talk about it. Right now, we have no red tide in Pinellas County area, at least in our vicinity, so we're really blessed not to have the red tide affecting us. But we have no dead fish, no floaters, no red tide right now. Down to our south, just in Anna Maria, just on the south shore of Tampa Bay, the red tide is there. They have dead fish on the beach. And then from there, all the way south, down Florida, all the way south of the Caloosahatchee is dead fish, red tide, blue-green algae, just terrible water quality issues. And we could go on for hours about the issues there. We are working. Captain Joe Masano came over and we planned a Johns Pass chapter of this pretty cool. Actually, we're just going to pull it up for you guys. Let's see here. We are going to go to Facebook. You guys can go to facebook.com, type in Hands Along the Water, and you're going to see Hands Along the Water Florida statewide event. This is a statewide peaceful protest coming up August 12th at 10 a.m. Joe Masano and I have created a Johns Pass version. So again, Hands Along the Water, just type it in, go to the Florida statewide event. So Hands Along the Water, Florida statewide event. Click the event, scroll down to the details, and in the details you're going to see the list of every city that's having one of these peaceful protests. So Sarasota, Fort Myers, Inglewood, Naples, Bonita Beach, Sanibel, Nokomis, Cape Coral, St. Pete Beach, Fort Lauderdale, Venice, and then there's us, Johns Pass. This is the one I created with the help of Captain Joe, and look at that. We have over 1,000 people, looks like 1,100 people interested or going to this event. It's going to be really, really cool. We're excited about it, and this is our way of speaking out and calling some attention to those water quality issues that everybody keeps commenting about in this live stream here, guys. So we definitely have a problem, but this is our way of addressing it. And if you guys could, again, go to Hubbard's, or go to Facebook, go to Hands Along the Water, and then this is the Johns Pass event. If you go to our Johns Pass event and go to the discussion, so under our Johns Pass event, go to the discussion or recent posts, and you can scroll down here to one of my first posts. Here it is. So one of my first posts from August 2nd. This is going to have the link where you can fill out the Captains for Clean Water form letter. It takes literally 30 seconds. If only half of the people watching do this for me, again, it only takes 30 seconds. If only half of you guys do this for me, it will only take a second, and it'll make a big difference. I'm going to pop it into the comments right now on both YouTube and Facebook. So check the comments. I'm putting the link in the comments for you guys. Check the comments, click that link, and take 30 seconds to pop your name, phone number, address, and email, and that will send a form letter to your congressional representative and your senator to tell them that you care about water quality, and they should too. And then this link I'm about to send is for a White House petition. This is on the whitehouse.gov website, and this is all about moving Florida Amendment 1 forward. So really important. If you could click both those links and fill them out for me, it would just take you a few seconds, and that would really, really help. But back to what we're talking about. So August 12th, 10 a.m., we are going to be meeting in Kingfish Park, which is just on the northwest corner of Johns Pass. We're going to meet at that little pavilion, and then if you could be there around 9:30, that'd be best. And then around 10 o'clock, we're going to spread out across alongside of Johns Pass Bridge. Remember, it's a peaceful protest. We're not blocking traffic. We're not going to be that kind of protest. So you're going to go alongside Johns Pass Bridge. We're going to go up and down the jetty and up and down the beach, depending on how many people are there, and hopefully get some news media out there and call some attention to what's going on, because we got a problem. These red tides have been getting worse and worse. We have whale sharks dying right now, and whale sharks, manatees, dolphins, sea turtles. This is all down south. Again, clean water in our area, no floating fish. But to our south, we have a huge problem with Okeechobee outflows. We have sewage going into the waters. We have too many fertilizers going into the water. We have a huge population exploding in Central Florida, feeding more fertilizer into Lake Okeechobee, and these outflows. Water has stopped flowing south in the Everglades. There's multiple issues here, guys. There's no one simple fix, no one quick fix, but creating a reservoir, stopping some of the pollution, cleaning up some of the waters. The only way we're going to be able to fix this is going to take a lot of time, energy, and a lot of people working together. But just like our fishing problems, guys, we're not going to solve anything by name calling or putting the blame on somebody. It's no one politician's fault. It's no one political party's fault. This isn't a Democrat, Republican issue. It doesn't matter if you're white, black, blue, green, yellow, whatever. This is a bipartisan issue that we all need to work together to fix and give it time. There's no way we can fix the problem tomorrow, the next day, next year, 10 years from now. This is going to take 20, 30, 40 years. You and I's lifetime it's going to take to fix this problem. But we got to start today. We got to start working together to make our voices heard. And hopefully August 12th, we'll start doing that at 10 a.m. Remember, we're meeting at Kingfish Park. You got to be there about 9:30 to park. Easiest place to park would be the Johns Pass parking garage or over at Gators, and come over and meet us. If Johns Pass is too far a drive for you, meet us at one of those other statewide meeting places. If you're out of state, you're watching this video, click on the links I just dropped into the comments. Take 30 seconds to fill out that link, especially if you're out of state. Please check out those links, because if you're out of state, you're even more important, because that shows that not only do the congressional representatives and senators that represent Florida have to get involved, but these other congressional representatives and senators from across the country, if they're getting letters from their constituents by people like you taking 30 seconds to click those links, that's the difference maker there, guys. So please share those links with your friends. Check out Hands Along the Water Johns Pass. Share the event for me. Click interested or going, even if you don't plan to go, even if you're not interested. That's going to help us spread the word here, folks. So we really appreciate your time. And for those of you who are bringing up water quality issues in the video, I'm sorry I took so long to address it, but a little bit passionate about that problem, and I didn't want to sidetrack us from what we were talking about there. So definitely a little bit of an issue we're facing, and we got to work together here. So let's see if we have any other questions. I don't see any other questions right now. Bill Riska said, what's up with Captains for Clean Water? Captains for Clean Water, CCA, all these organizations are working together. A lot of people are throwing a lot of shade and talking a lot of smack about CCA. Well, CCA has been doing a ton of stuff. Granted, a lot of it's behind the scenes. They're not doing too good of a job about being front and center. They don't have a name like Captains for Clean Water, but Captains for Clean Water, CCA, they're both working together to address these water quality issues. And if I was you, I would go out and join CCA, join Captains for Clean Water. I'm a life member of CCA, and I'm a member of Captains for Clean Water, and they are both great organizations that are working for us. But all these organizations have to work together too, because no one organization, just because Captains for Clean Water have the name Captains for Clean Water, that doesn't mean they're going to be able to do this by themselves. The only way things are going to start being fixed or addressed is through legislation and getting some federal money. And the only way to do that is by filling out those form letters on those links I posted. One of those links is Captains for Clean Water. That's who has that form letter. So if you click that first link I sent and fill out that form letter on Captains for Clean Water's website, that is going to send a letter to your congressional representatives, your senators, and you're probably going to get some stupid form letter response back. A lot of people were posting that Marco Rubio was just sending this really bland copy and pasted letter back. Well, hello, that means that your voice was heard and your vote was tallied. And getting those form letters back means that you made a difference. So please take a few seconds to do that for me. I'd really appreciate it. Enough about that. We'll see you August 12th at 10 a.m. August 25th at 2 p.m., Bass Pro Shops. We have another seminar coming up. If you want to win another 5-hour half day for 2 people or a 10-hour all day for 2 people, come out and join us at Bass Pro Shops. August 25th, 2 p.m. For those of you who joined us last time at Bass Pro Shops, we did give away 4 free fishing trips. And we're getting those in the mail tomorrow if you're watching and you're waiting on those. Can you talk some? Answer that question. Jamie's Fredlin said, got a trip booked with y'all Wednesday afternoon. Family is worried about water conditions in this whole red tide. Again, can't stress it enough. No red tide in our area. No bad water in our area. So we're really blessed. Right now, we're clear. Nothing to worry about at all, Jamie's. But that could change, and we'll be sure to let you know when that changes, if that changes. But we're hoping that it won't get in our area. But even if it does get in our area, even if we do have dead fish in Johns Pass, offshore where we're fishing, it won't affect that area, especially our offshore waters. However, the only thing that would be affected is you're not going to be able to get live pinfish because those pinfish are going to die in the red tide. But again, no red tide, no bad water in our area. Even if the red tide does come, we'll make sure to let you know. If it does come, it won't affect offshore fishing, except for you won't be able to get live bait through that red tide offshore. Even though it doesn't affect offshore fishing, it's going to affect our estuaries, and it's going to affect the future of offshore fishing. Red tide is a naturally occurring phenomenon, but it's definitely gotten worse, and it's definitely been more consistent, and it's definitely staying around longer. So it is a natural occurring thing that happens all the time, been happening for 50 plus years, but it's never been so bad as it's been this year. This is a really big bloom. So in my opinion, we are the problem. We are causing the problem. So enough about that. Again, stop bringing it up. Kurt Doyle said, what pound test line and leader do you recommend for the 12-hour and 39-hour trips? Also, how many rods should you bring? Well, Kurt, let me show you something here real quick. Again, going to refer you to hubbardsmarina.com. I personally wrote this website. So all the information you can see on this website came from my computer, my keyboard. So when people call me and ask me, hey, what tackle do you recommend? And I say, hey, do you read the website? And they say, yeah, I read the website, but I wanted to ask you. Guys, this is me. This is me. The website's me. This is my baby. And I'm going to be working really hard over it the next 4 or 5 months to dial in even more. So if you ever have a question about tackle, right on our website, you can click the trip you're interested in. In this point, I clicked the 44-hour full moon trip. The tackle questions is huge. Number of rods recommended. There's your question. All the different snapper species, bigger grouper species, big monster fish species, all the tackle questions are there. If that doesn't give you enough information, under the info tab, you can go to the frequently asked questions page, and I have really in-depth information. People ask me all the time, well, what kind of fish can you catch on this trip? Well, there's a whole paragraph about fish you can catch on the 63-hour trip. What type of rods and reels do you rent on our trip? There is the rod and reel information for each one of our party boat fishing trips. All about what bait is provided and what bait options and what bait works well for each one of our trips. Trolling information, what we don't allow on our trips, braided line information, how weather affects fishing. Tons of information on that frequently asked questions page. And if that's not enough information, under fishing tips or under fishing trips, you can go to fishing tips. And on the fishing tips page, bam, there's all my Bass Pro Shop seminar, my South Shore Angler seminars, lots of different videos, my Salt Strong Hogfish podcast, Tons of information there as well. But typically for a 39-hour trip, I would be mainly using 3 different types of rods. I would be using a snapper reel, which would be my 2-speed Daiwa Saltiga, with around 50-pound line with around 40 to 50-pound leader, double snelled setup, and on a 39-hour trip, probably 50-pound fluorocarbon with double snelled 6/0 hooks, about a 6-ounce weight, and about a 4 to 5 foot leader. That would be my snapper setup. Then I would have like a red grouper setup, intermediate setup with like a 6/0 reel, 80-pound test, 80-pound fluorocarbon leader, with like a 7 to 8/0 circle hook, and then my big huge 9/0 reel with 100 to 125-pound test, big 10 to 12/0 hook, and that's my big gag grouper stick, amberjack stick. And then you could even go, instead of a huge 9/0, you could use like one of those accurate ATDs, or one of those big huge Shimano Talicas, or Shimano Tagras, or one of those big Shimano TLDs, Penn International, some of those big reels with real heavy tackle. So typically about 3 rods for bottom fishing, maybe even a trolling rod. So on those 39-hour trips, you're going to have anywhere between, I would have anywhere between 3 to 4 rods, maybe even 5 if you include one of those pitch rods. Troy Wozniak said, how kid-friendly are the 5-hour trips? Would love to get my kids out. Afraid of, due to lack of experience, would hate to get in other people's way. Sorry. Troy, yes, the 5-hour half day is a kid's trip. It's a kid's beginning angler's trip, tourist trip, if you will, or beginning angler starting out trip. It's perfect for kids. It's very family friendly. You could have fished this much in your whole life and you'd do great on our 5-hour half day. We do a seminar before you leave. We do a seminar on the way out. The crew walk around the entire time to try to help you guys out. And we really try to focus on the kids and get the kids hooked up and get them addicted, hooked on fishing and addicted to their tackle box instead of their Xbox. So very family friendly 5-hour half day. You'd have a great time fishing with Smokey, Dusty, and whatever other mates that might be working with you. Captain Joe, Captain Brian, Captain Garrett, they all do a very good job in making sure you and your family have a great time out there. And I'm running that 5-hour half day this Thursday. We have a foster kids trip coming up with Fit for Truth. I really look forward to Thursday's half day fishing trips. So yes, very family friendly. Monica said, what happened to the Salt Strong logo behind you? It is a great logo, Monica. Unfortunately, I got my new computer set up, so I had to move the computer setup to a desk and move my studio around a little bit. And unfortunately, my new backdrop, I didn't get that flag situated, but it didn't go anywhere. Still working with them, still love those guys, and just need to get it reset up. They sent me actually a smaller one, so I'm going to try to get the smaller one up here, and hopefully Bass Pro's flag is going to come in here soon as well. Also going to try to show some love to Bull Bay Rods, Honda Marine, Engel Coolers, Aquatic Nutrition, Sport Fishing Chums, all my companies that I work with. The Cleanse Oil, can't forget about them guys. A lot of great companies to show some love to, Monica. So Salt Strong didn't go anywhere, just not hanging up right now, unfortunately. Terry Eakin said, what live bait to use on the 12-hour night mangrove snapper trip? Definitely live shrimp. Terry is going to be your best bet on the night mangrove snapper trip, because it's good for mangroves. But I would use a double snelled 40-pound fluorocarbon leader with double snelled 4 to 5/0 hooks and a chunk of thread fin for a majority of that night 12-hour trip hunting for those mangroves. But if I was going to use live bait, I would use a small pin fish for the mangrove snapper or live shrimp. Majority of live shrimp. John Rice said that is the Grouper Extreme 63-hour trip booked and how much? No, John Rife, literally the 63-hour deep drop pelagic trip is wide open. Captain Mark Hubbard, my father, is going to be the one driving the boat. He's really looking forward to going out there and putting a huge pile of grouper on the deck, stopping in 200 to 400 foot of water for big gags and red grouper to start, and then pushing out to 500 to 700 foot of water for yellow edge and tiles, then pushing out even a little bit deeper for some big snowies, maybe even some Warsaws. There's tons of room on the trip. You'll have tons of trolling time, tons of room around the boat, and it's $840 for 63 hours on the water, a 3-day trip. You leave Thursday at 3 p.m. That's Thursday, August 16th at 3 p.m., and you'll return to the docks Sunday morning at 6 a.m. It's going to be an awesome trip. Bruce Rosen said, who's on the 39-hour trip leaving Tuesday, August 7th? Anybody in here? I'm sure there is, Bruce. I know someone asked about it earlier on, I think it was YouTube. Someone asked about it. But yeah, the August 7th, Tuesday, 39-hour has a light load as well. And then Friday, I think it's August 10th, has another light load on it. So there's a lot of light loads now that red snapper season is open. Amberjack's open, triggerfish is open, everything is open except for red snapper, yet the trips are light. Whereas during red snapper season, amberjack's closed, triggerfish is closed, and the trips are sold out. Blows my mind. Don't get it. But as the water cools down, gag grouper bite's going to pick up, amberjack bite's going to pick up, and it's not going to be so hot out. And I know October's already booking up. We might have some sold out trips already in October. So definitely, if you're looking forward to some fall grouper bites and fall grouper fishing, start booking your trip now. Bill Ruskus said transit time is how long? I don't know if you're asking. I assume you're asking about the 63-hour trip. Bill, transit time for the first stop is anywhere about 10 to 12 hours. And then we'll start gag fishing, and then it's probably another 10 to 12 hours to that deep drop area. You get a lot of transit time on the 63-hour trip, but you get plenty of fishing time. On a 39-hour trip, it's about a 7 to 9 hour ride out, 7 to 9 hour ride back with around 20 hours of bottom fishing time. On a 63-hour, you're going to have about 30 hours of bottom fishing time, and then about 20 hours of trolling time in between all that. So the transit time is varying because we'll take different routes on different trips. This trip is going to be our grouper route, so the chances for queen snapper are going to be fairly low on this upcoming August 16th 63-hour, but the chances for huge grouper and large amounts of grouper is going to be super high. So it's a grouper slam. We're going after huge piles of gag grouper, snowy grouper, yellow edge grouper, tile fish, Warsaws, Kitty Mitchells. It's going to be a stellar trip with a super light load. Kim Gardner said, what is the best way to fish for amberjack, jigs or bottom fishing? I would definitely recommend bottom fishing with big, huge live bait for amberjack. Personally, again, because I'm lazy. But huge vertical jigs work very well for amberjack too. So it's kind of 6 to 1, half a dozen of another, whichever you'd prefer, Kim. But big vertical jigs or huge live baits, either one. But I would work both of those on the bottom. Typically, when I'm live bait fishing for amberjack, I'll drop that live bait down until I can't see it anymore, and then I'll stop the reel with my thumb. And then I'll just barely let off with my thumb, and I'll drop that big live bait down to the bottom very slowly, hoping that I get eaten before I get to the bottom. That way I don't have to fight that huge amberjack all the way off the bottom. And it decreases the chance that that amberjack's going to take you into the wreck or spring or ledge and break you off. So when I'm fishing for live bait or fishing for amberjack with live bait, I drop it till I can't see it anymore, then I drop it real slow until I get hit, or I make it to the bottom. And once I make it to the bottom, I'll let it sit there for a while and then reel it up and switch out to a more lively piece of bait and restart that process. Or when I'm vertical jigging for amberjack, I reverse that. I'll drop it all the way down to the bottom until it stops going out. And then I'll vertical jig a half dozen times. Then I'll crank up a few times. And then vertical jig another half dozen times. Crank up half a dozen times. Vertical jig another half dozen times. And just repeat that process until I see the vertical jig. And then I'll drop it all the way back down to the bottom and repeat that process once again. So that's how I would fish for amberjack, either live bait or vertical jig. What? Mark Tomlinson said, what's the one lure that you look at, scratch your head, and wonder why did they make that? I'm confused, Mark, what you're asking there, buddy. Bill Riska said, do you eat triggerfish? Yes. Eat triggerfish. Triggerfish are one of the best eaten fish around. Very good eating fish. Highly recommend it. Jacob Rapp said, how long are we going to be out there protesting August 12th at 10 a.m. for the Hands Along the Water thing? It's only going to be about 15-20 minutes. Technically, this is a statewide event. To be honest, it's a little hippie-ish. They want to hold hands for 15 minutes and then raise our hands to the sky. I'm not going to be doing that. I'm just going to be out there trying to get some media attention and trying to get some people rallied together in support of this problem. But the technical statewide event, what they're doing is they're meeting at 10 a.m. and then getting set up by 10:15. They want to be holding hands, and then at 10:30 raising their hands to the sky, and then it's over. So the statewide event's only 15-20 minutes long. Our event, we're going to be meeting up around 9:30, 9:45, meeting at Kingfish Park Pavilion at 10 a.m., getting set up by 10:15. If you guys want to hold hands for 15 minutes and raise your hands to the sky like everybody else across the state, you're more than welcome to. Me personally, probably won't be holding y'all's hands, but be happy to be there and support you guys. And I'm happy I was blessed to be able to plan this and be a part of planning it with Captain Joe. So I appreciate him bringing me in the loop. Richard Moore said, are you going to add rod holders to the bow of the Friendly the next time it's in dry dock? Well, the Florida is going to be in dry dock this year, Richard. So if we are going to add rod holders to any boat, it would be the Florida this year. I've always wanted to add rocket shooters along the roof of the boat, and I plan to do that one of these days. But that would be one of the rod racks only I could reach, or a few of the guys could reach. Richard, you're a pretty tall guy. You could probably reach them too. But yes, we're definitely always thinking of new ways to store rods on the boats. When do they set the schedule? We set the schedule at the end of the year. Typically, for 2019, our fishing trip schedule will come out sometime around early December 2018, Jeff Wiggins. Thomas Woodham said, what is open for midweek trips? We have a midweek 39-hour trip coming up here August 7th, and pretty much everything's open. It's only got about 23, 24 people on the trip, and we allow up to 50. Brian Distinger said, can I get information on being a Regulars Club member? Brian, I got your missed call. I got your email. I'm working on getting back to you, buddy. I apologize for the delay. Just a little bit busy lately. But I did get your call, Brian, and I'm glad you're feeling better. I look forward to getting you back into the Regulars Club. For anybody listening, our Regulars Club is a loyalty program. How it works is you pay a little bit of money to join. As long as you do a certain amount of trips, you qualify for some pretty good discounts. But you have to be fishing with us more than 10, 15, 20 times a year to see benefit. And it's a loyalty program, not a discount program. So you got to go fishing a lot. So sorry about that. You got to go fishing quite a bit. And then also, it's not something where you sign up today and it runs for 12 months. If you signed up today, it would end December 31st, 2018. So you would have a 4-month membership. So we're not really signing people up right now, but we can send you the information on it and we can put you on the list for 2019. So if you're interested in joining our loyalty program, you can send me an email to Captain Dylan Hubbard. So that's just CAPT Hubbard at hubbardsmarina.com. I'm going to drop that into the comment boxes now. So you can email me and I'll send you the information about the Regulars Club. Just email me and say, hey, I'm interested in the Regulars Club, and give me your full name, phone number, and email address. And I will go ahead and send you the information and put you on the list for 2019. And we'll typically start signups for 2019 Regulars Club at the end of November, early December, and we'll release that schedule early December. Jeff Wiggins said, when do you set the schedule for Red Snapper 2018? Well, that was set in early December 2017 there, Jeff. I assume you mean when do you set the schedule for Red Snapper 2019? Our entire 2019 fishing schedule will come out again early December, and when we release that new schedule early December, it will book up fast. Red Snapper always starts June 1st, and it runs for about 30 to 50 to 70 days depending on the Gulf Council, and Red Snapper season is never finalized until May of that year. They only give us about 4 to 6 weeks notice. If you wait until it's finalized, your trips will be sold out. So book early and often. Book June 1st, the second week of June, the third week of June, the fourth week of June, the first week of July. Book a lot, and then as that season gets finalized, you can change reservations. If you give us a bunch of notice, it's not a problem. Michael Jean Jimmy said, wish we could attend the 12th event because it's an important event, but that's our 12-hour extreme private charter. Michael Jimmy, I did not set the date for that August 12th thing. Again, this is a statewide peaceful protest. I was just invited to create a John's Pass version of it. So I did not pick the date, or I would have scheduled it around your guys' private charter. I'm very disappointed that I can't attend your private charter because I know you guys always invite me, and I'm very disappointed you guys can't attend this event. But this is something I find very important, and it's a statewide event. The date was already set by the time I got invited, so I apologize it doesn't coincide for you guys. We'd love to have you there. How hard is it to get the corner spots on the 39-hour trip? Brett, it's not very hard if you book early. If you book early December, you should have no problem getting the corner spots. And if you don't book early, you can still get corner spots. For example, Joe May, let me see the photo I showed you earlier. This was the 39-hour trip that went out Friday. This gentleman is from Orlando, Joe May. He told me this morning he booked his trip. He got spot 10, corner of the stern on our 39-hour trip. He booked his trip on Wednesday. He was planning to go golfing this weekend and do some honey-do lists. Ended up checking our website, saw spot 10 was open, booked it online quickly before anybody else could, and he came fishing on the 39-hour trip in the corner. So you can book a corner spot anytime you want, and they do come available fairly easily and fairly often. What I always tell people is our new online booking system is really cool. Let me show you how it works here. So when you go to hubbardsmarina.com, once you go to hubbardsmarina.com, you can go to our 39-hour trip. I'm going to book a 39-hour trip. I want to only, if you're going to try to get a corner, which is either spot 1 or spot 10, you want to fish the stern. So I picked the stern. It's only going to show me trips that are have stern spots open. So right now, my mid-August trips, my late August trips don't have any stern spots open, so it's not going to show me any trips. So that's a really cool opportunity there. Or actually, no, I guess it does show you trips where the stern spot's not open. But you could click on the trip you're interested in, and it's going to show you what's available. So, for example, on this trip, it's going to show me in just 1 second here that none of the stern spots are open. So you can pick on a trip, like let's say I'm interested in August 10th. I can click August 10th and see what's available. Just give it a second to populate what's available. All right, so none of the stern spots are open for this trip. I'm going to stay. Choose a different date. We're going to go December and see what's open December 7th. So December 7th, stern spots. Nothing's open. Well, this was a really bad example, but that is a good problem to have. It means we're popular right now, so that's cool. Leave checkout. So, for example, if I was booking a trip, I would always click the bow seating because I want spot 35 or 36 all the way forward. And you can click the date you're interested in, and it's going to bring up the spots that you clicked on. So in this one, there's spot 35 and 36, the two spots where I would be fishing, and neither one of those are open, but you can get spot 41 or 40, which is another great spot as well. So basically you pick the area of the boat you want to fish on, and then you can start your booking by picking the date that you want to go fishing. Eric Deskin said, watching from Hudson, Florida, why are there no multiple day trips in September? Same reason every year, guys. We send a boat to dry dock every year. Dry dock starts the week after Labor Day. So after Labor Day weekend, we take one of our big party boats, we pull it out of the water, we do our U.S. Coast Guard inspections, and we spend a lot of money and a lot of time making that boat really nice again for you guys. Every 2 years, we do that to one of the boats. For example, this year, we're going to pull the Florida Fisherman out of the water. Next year, we're going to pull the Friendly Fisherman out of the water. Then the following year, we would pull the Florida Fisherman out of the water. So every year, we flip-flop one of the big party boats coming out of the water for U.S. Coast Guard out of the water inspection and dry dock, where we paint the boats and do a bunch of new improvements and upgrades. So during September and early October, there's no multiple day trips because we only have one party boat in service. But we do have 12-hour night trips all the way through September to make it up. And we also have tons of 12-hour extreme trips on the Flying Hub too to make it up. And we have tons of private charter availability open to make it up as well. So if you want to go do some extreme long-range fishing in September or early October, book a 12-hour extreme, book a Flying Hub 1 private charter, Flying Hub 2 private charter, or check out that 12-hour night snapper trip. Looks like I answered all the questions on our Hubbard's Marina YouTube page, the Captain Dylan Hubbard Facebook page. Melvin Dawson said, will you be able running trips? Melvin, this week I ran 4 trips. I ran the Shark trip, Hub private charter, and then I ran an 8-hour Hub charter yesterday. And then this week I'm running the AM and PM half day on the Florida Thursday. Friday I'm running a 5-hour Hub trip in the morning, and then Saturday I'm running the 5-hour night half day trip. And then I think I might be running Sunday as well. So I do about 2 to 4 trips a week, depending on the week. Some weeks I run no trips. Some weeks I run 7 trips. So it just depends on the week and where the schedule falls. But I'm the vice president of the company, so I have to balance working in the office and getting my busy work done, and then doing what I love, which is going offshore, and then also balancing when clients request me for private charters. Because if you call and book a private charter, you can request me, and I always work very hard to try to accommodate to our clients and come out fishing with you when you request me. So you can always cheat and call and book a private charter and request me, and that's how you get me out fishing with you. But my wife does want to do a 39-hour trip here soon, so hopefully, Melvin, I'll catch you on a 39-hour trip with my wife. That'll be pretty fun. Well, I beat this up, guys. We answered a lot of questions, and we went let's see here. We went an hour and a half, so definitely covered a lot of stuff here, folks. I appreciate y'all tuning in and joining me. Again, August 12th, 10 a.m., that statewide protest. Hopefully you can meet me at the Johns Pass version. Just simply go to Facebook. Again, we're going to take it back to facebook.com. The August 12th event is called Hands Along the Water. So just type in Hands Along the Water and you can go to the Johns Pass event or go to the Florida statewide event and find the one closest to you. Or you can go to the Hubbard's Marina Facebook page. And once you're on the Hubbard's Marina Facebook page, you can click Events. On the events page, you're going to see our Hands Along the Water August 12th event. You're going to see our Bass Pro Shops Fishing Seminar August 25th. And then we always have our weekly live fishing conversation Q&A as well. So we'll see you next Sunday, August... next Sunday is or a week from today, which is the next Sunday coming up, is the peaceful protest, August 12th. So we're going to do that protest during the day at 10 a.m. And then a week from today, we'll also have our live fishing seminar and Q&A. And then August 25th, we're going to have that Bass Pro Shops live fishing seminar and our Bass Pro Shops in-person event. So definitely a lot of options coming up here at Hubbard's Marina. If you're too busy to go fishing, you're just too darn busy. And we'll see you soon sometime inside Johns Pass for some long-range fishing, near-shore fishing, private charters, or one of our other many trips. I appreciate y'all tuning in. Remember to comment. Let me know how we did. Comment. Let me know what I missed. Comment. Tell us what you love about Hubbard's Marina, what you love about this fishing seminar and Q&A. Make sure you share the stream with your friends so they can watch it back, see what they missed. And next week, make sure you tune in 8:30 p.m. Please click like before you exit out of the video. And you guys have a great night. Happy Sunday. God bless.